Hey everyone, welcome to the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show. I am Bess McCarty, presenting to you today here from Victoria, Kansas. And the book today is by John Maxwell, and this is your roadmap for success. John Maxwell. Today we're covering Chapter 8, which is all about family. So I'm real happy to present this. This show is sponsored by the MLM Millionaire Academy, our generic school for network marketers. Which the school is run by Jeffrey David Gamble, who has personally recruited over 500 people frontline in network marketing, and his fiancee Brandy Pember, who's also an experienced network marketer, and me, Bess McCarty, also a previous generic network marketer full-time, now a dedicated generic coach. They call me the shrink of MLM. Hey, welcome, Jeff. Your first one here that I see anyway. Welcome. So our purpose is to help people grow, to educate, equip, and empower entrepreneurs and create independent servant leaders. We do have a Facebook group for this called the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show. You're welcome to join the almost 600 community over there of 600 top network marketers who are interested in this pinnacle of leadership. We, in network marketing, You sell a product or service, you train other people to do that, and then lastly, the pinnacle is that you lead. So this is the leadership show. And if you're watching the replay, please type in replay, because I want to thank you for watching. And if you know other people who, we thank you anyway for sharing. A lot of people come on here and they'll tag friends, or they'll share over in another network marketing group. So we really appreciate you for doing that. And if you would like to be on my text reminder before each show, please let me know that, and I can include you in my text reminders. So enough of the introductions. This is an incredible man, John Maxwell, and he's written, I think, about 100 books. And I don't know how he does it, but each one is so powerful and so effective and so important. Each chapter, each page just contains so much that I want to just absorb that for a whole week. But I'm going to present to you in a nutshell what he has shared with us in Chapter 8 about family. He loves family, right? John Maxwell is a very successful minister, and then he became a leadership leader and wrote these books and has traveled all over the world. But guess what? He put family first, and that's what this chapter is about. Because he says, and I'm going to be sharing a bit with you from the book, what would it profit me to gain the whole world and lose my family? And I'm going to put a quote just from the end of this chapter, which is perfect for this too, right now, to give the overview. And he says, I believe that few people have ever been truly successful without a positive, supportive family. No matter how great their accomplishments, they're still missing something if they work without the benefit of those relationships. And he said, for most people, a good family helps you to know your purpose and develop your potential. It helps you to enjoy the journey along the way with intensity that isn't possible otherwise. And I know that myself, well, he tells a little story. He tells a little story here. He said a friend of mine told about when his daughter was in the first or second grade, and she was asked to draw a picture of their families, and she loved to draw, so she happily did that. And then she went back and took the picture back to her parents, and they said, and the father looked at it, and she said, well, what is this? And she said, this is us in our house. The teacher asked us to draw a picture of our family. And the father looked at it, and he said, well, sweetheart, is Daddy in the picture? And she said, no. She said, the teacher asked us to draw a picture of us at home, and you're never here. And that was like a piano dropped on him. And from then on, he turned it around. He turned his life around and put his family first and make sure that he was home with them. Now for me, I became a single mom when my son was, I have one child, my son Devin in San Diego, and he became, I became a single mom when he was 2.5. And I knew that I had to make a living for us. And I did that with pride, and I thought that I did a good job. I became a holistic health practitioner besides doing network marketing. When my company went out of business, then I became a holistic health practitioner and did that for many years and helped many people. I also did it for my own personal growth too. But I remember that a friend of mine was also building her business, and she was building it very fast. She was a single person and didn't have children. And I saw how fast she was building her business, and I thought, how slow I was going with my own. And I thought, wow, look, just think what I could do if I didn't have a child. I could go as fast as she is. And then I was jealous a little bit, because she could go unhindered. She could develop her business and let that thing grow with no limits, no compromises, no dividing her time between her child and her business. And I was a little jealous of that. But then I looked and I said, wait a minute, she doesn't have a child. I wouldn't trade my child for this business. I'm happy with my choice. I'm happy I'm a mom. I chose to become a mom, and I'm happy with that. And I love that over my business. Well, my friend did go on to become very, very successful, but she does not have a family. And I am so grateful for that. That's the best thing in my life, better than any business. And now my son has a little daughter who's 6 months old. And so she brings me more joy than anything. And I just wouldn't trade that. So putting family first, and John Maxwell agrees here. And he tells some stories in here for some examples of how to do that. He said that some people might forget that. If they do have a family and they have a business, they might get wrapped up in the family. And he tells a little story about this lady who traveled when she was in a choir for their church. And they were traveling across country, clear across country, with 50 people in the choir. And so they're driving across Texas, which is kind of hot and desolate and all that stuff. And they stop a lot to get out and stretch their legs and use the restroom and all that stuff and get food. But they were traveling with the 50 choir members and the choir director and his wife and their teenage daughter and their 7-year-old son. So at one of these stops, they had gotten out, everybody got in, and they piled in the car again. They drove on for about an hour before they realized, hey, the 7-year-old son is not with us. And they freaked out, and they immediately drove back as fast as they could get back there to find him. It didn't take too long. One of the choir members found the little boy in the bathroom killing flies in there, and he had been too concerned. But they got him back. And John Maxwell uses this story to say, well, some people are like this in their business and their careers. They'll be driving along, and then they realize, hey, my family's left behind. And at that point, they can go back and pick them up, like the father did when the daughter, omitted him in the picture. Or they can say, you know what, it's just too far to go back. I'm going to just keep driving. And they keep driving. And so that's, they need to live with the results of that. Hello, Mr. Roeder, glad to see you. Welcome to the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show, covering John Maxwell's Your Roadmap to Success, for Success. And we're on chapter 8 now, which is about family. So I know a lot of you already know this, but still a lot of us may be tempted at times to put family on the second burner. Oh, how far could I go? Like I was, how far could I go if I was not hindered by family? And one person said, well, my child is, we can use our children as an excuse and say, well, I can't build my network marketing business because my child needs me, or I'm a mom, so my time is divided, and all this stuff. That some people use their children as their why. That's why I must build my network marketing business. And I found time when he's napping, after bedtime, when he'd be playing with other kids come over and play, or other mothers and I could trade. Sorry, bad hair day, right? Shouldn't fix your hair on video, but okay, so my son could play with other children, and some others and I would take turns. They would come over and play at my house, and then when he would go play at their house, and I could work on my network marketing business. But I found ways to do it, and I'm very, very happy and glad for my choice. He says, there's a fellow, he quotes in here, a fellow named Nick Stennett, and I would like to read this to you, what he said. He asserted more than a decade ago, when you have a strong family, you receive the message that you are loved, cared for, and important. The positive intake of love, affection, and respect gives you the inner resources to deal with life more successfully. So your family is not a hindrance, they are an asset to your whole life, including your business. And of course it helps each person realize that who they are, that they're important to each other. So he has some steps to building a strong family in here. I think are very good. And it was Dr. R.C. Adams, who had studied thousands of marriages over 10 years, found that only 17% of them could be considered truly happy. And he said we have to get back to the basics and develop the type of security that our children can grow up in. And guess what? That doesn't just happen. We have to work hard to make that happen. So John Maxwell gives some tips. And I know that these are examples from his life. These are real examples. He says, express an appreciation for each other. And I'm going to just invite a few people here while I talk, because I should have done that. But he says, express an appreciation for each other. And that reminds me of Zig Ziglar, who was looking at his marriage, and he wondered if he should dissolve it. It wasn't working. He wasn't happy with parts of it, and he wondered if he should dissolve it. And he said, wait, before I do that, let me try something. He began expressing gratitude every time he catch his wife doing something, I'll say right, or that he appreciated, or that would contribute to the marriage. He thanked her for it. And he would find out that she would end up doing more of those things. And this kept going on until it was a happy marriage. He said, well, I guess I don't have to end it now. And what turned it around in his story, in his mind, was that gratitude that he expressed. Catch him doing something that you appreciate and let him know that. Okay, I'm just inviting a few people. And if you're watching the replay, please type in replay. I'd like to thank you. And if you're there, I'd love for you to say hello and let me know that you're there. And if you are getting value, I'd love if you tag friends or invite them or share in another Facebook group that could be watching live at the same time. Maybe you're watching over at the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show group page, and that's great too. So, okay, back to the show here. So, tips from John Maxwell. He says, make your home a supportive environment. And one way to do that is to appreciate each person's uniqueness. And so he has some tips of how to do that. Each person in our family can't be compared to others, but they can be recognized for their own uniquenesses. Sorry, make this right here. Okay. Each of us are unique, and I see a family as like a bouquet of flowers, and each flower is unique and different. Some's a yellow rose, some's a daisy, some's a purple, hyacinth. We're each different colors and we bring different qualities to the bouquet, don't we? And between us all, we have all these brilliant colors and shapes and sizes and varieties that we bring. And some bring greenery and some bring the color. So I see us like a bouquet, each with each individual unique differences, or an orchestra that can make beautiful music together, but we're each different, and we have to be different to bring that variety and that harmony that happens. So he says appreciate each person's uniqueness, and he has two different personality models to be able to assess that. And welcome, Pierre, glad to see you. If anybody has a question, please type that in. If anybody has a takeaway, please, I'd love to hear what you're learning here. If anybody has a tip about family and how to strengthen family, or how you appreciate yours, I'd love to hear that below as well. So here's two different personality assessments that John Maxwell suggests that that we might look at to be able to value our family members. And one is the 4 personalities, and I'll describe that in the method that I know that I studied originally, called the DISC personalities. And one is a D, and that's more like the dominant, powerful person that needs to have things, needs to have it be, they're like the leader. They want to be the leader, and they like to have things be their way, or things to be their choice. You give them that choice, you give them that opportunity to exercise that creative leadership ability. Another one is the influential. This is the DISC, D-I-S-C. The influential person. This is the people, the fun. They bring the enthusiasm, the life, the spark, the passion, but they might not be so good at details. You might have to help them remember that, or help them to slow down and think of being realistic sometimes about their ideas too. Another is the S personality of the DISC, and that is like me. I'm more relationship, more thorough, more thoughtful, very people-oriented, but still kind of thorough. And so these people, he says, we might be a little more slower to make decisions, but we're very loyal people. And then is the C-type personality, which is very conscientious, very logical. And they also like to be in control and do their ideas, but they're more mental, more logical. So if one of your family members is one of these, don't, you can appreciate their uniqueness and help them to grow their own gifts, rather than say, why can't you be more like your brother? Why can't you be more like me, or more like the rest of us? Help them develop their individual gifts that they contribute to the family. Now, John also mentions 7, what does he call it, languages or intelligences, 7 different intelligence. In other words, 7 ways that people are, another way that you could look at this. And one is that that person might be good with working with words. Another might be better at logic. Another might be more visual. Another might be more kinesthetic. In other words, they respond to touch and hugs. Another might be more musical. Another might be very good with people. Another might be more introspective. And we know about the 5 love languages too, don't we? So that could be another way that I'll just put in here about understanding your family members. Some might like gifts. That's how they know that they're loved. They really like to give or receive gifts. Others like touch. Others like words of acknowledgement. Others like words service. They like to give service and do things for people or have things done for them. So the love languages could be another way to understand a family. Thank you for the likes and loves that you've contributed here. I appreciate that. And in a minute, I'll finish this talking about these tips that John has given to strengthen a family. So another way that he mentions is make sure you have time together. Funny enough, in this pandemic, a lot of my friends are saying, yeah, my family, some of them are driving me crazy, but you know what, it's really cool that we sit down every night for dinner together. We have at least one meal together every day, which we didn't always do before this happened. So they're seeing each other a lot, and maybe getting used to the kids being home from school or doing homeschooling. I know one post that I saw about homeschooling was 2 students suspended today for fighting, 1 teacher fired for drinking on the job. That was the homeschooling post during this pandemic. Funny enough, I was a homeschooler. I joined with other homeschoolers. We formed a community so that our kids could be together and learn things together. But I was a homeschooling mom. So a lot of my friends are too. So this might not be so different for them. But for people that aren't used to doing that or having their kids at home, it could be a whole sudden shock, right? So I acknowledge you guys who might be hearing this chapter today saying, spend more time with your family. But overall, when we do, and it's the right balance for us, we are healthier and happier. People have a good family life, they end up being healthier and happier people. So welcome, Kelly. And yes, some people are called to be single, and let's acknowledge that. I have some very dear, open-hearted friends who are very happy single, and it's just perfect for them. But she reaches out a lot to her family and friends. She spends a lot of time with them as well. John Maxwell says traditions have the added value of creating continuity in the family. So whatever your cultures or your countries or your spiritual orientation, have these traditions that can be regularly, a regular rhythm, a regular connecting with family, that they know this is coming every year, and that they will have that family time or that focus on spiritual time together, focus on each other, and deepening their relationships. Other tips from John Maxwell on family. Hey, Kelly, you got tips on family? I'd love to hear them below. What's your favorite? Kelly Rakowski is a dear lady, a dear friend, who has 3 grown children now, and one of them has a baby. Jacob has a little baby, Lily. So you're a grandma like me, almost. I am a few months ahead of you. But you guys have a strong family. And Kelly, what would be one tip, your best tip that you have for network marketers to be able to get to love their family? I'll say put their family first, but also to make sure that their family is whole and good in the process of being a business person. I know you're a business person and with a few hats. So do you have any tips for family, how you've done it, tips for our listeners here? One of my own tips is to include them as much as you can. When the children are old enough, you can take them to presentation meetings or seminars and have them sit with you and be with you and discuss what they see and learn. I took my son when he was young to see Robert and Kim Kiyosaki in San Diego when we were there. And I said, hey, Devin, look around. And he was a teenager at that time. I said, you're the youngest person in this room. You're starting ahead of most people. And he learned a lot from them. So you can bring them along at what age appropriate. Let them know what you're doing in your business. Let them help with whatever they can. Maybe setting up something for a home party, or used to be sending out. A long time ago when we sent out our own products or packages or newsletters by newsletters or things. But see what can that child help to organize some product or papers in your home, or contribute to the business in some way, even if it means sitting quietly with you while they do their homework and you do your work. So thank you. Okay, so love to hear. Welcome, David. Good to see you. Glad to see everyone. So tips, John Maxwell again, how to help family. He says, embrace problems. Problems call forth our courage and wisdom, and indeed they create them. We grow problems is how we grow spiritually and mentally. So as a family, we embrace the problems. And here's some tips about what to do with them. He says, number 1, attack the problem, never the person. And I like to remember that the family is in it together. They're on the same team. They're not against each other. They're on the same team. So it's them against the problem, not them against each other. Second, he said, get all the facts. Third, list all the options. Then choose the best solution. Then look for the positives in the problem. And never withhold love, no matter how bad things get or how angry. Tell your family how you feel. Acknowledge the problems, but continue loving the family members unconditionally through all of that. He talks about communication in here and gives tips on communication styles. And right now I'm going to recommend the communication book that I recommend, number 1 above all, to families and individuals and businesses and everything. And this is Marshall Rosenberg's Nonviolent Communication. It's been subtitled Compassionate Communication. And this method has saved my relationship with my ex-husband and my son. We used to go, after we were divorced, we'd go as a family, as a divorced family, to hear Dr. Marshall Rosenberg and attend his workshops in San Diego. And Marshall teaches that rather than blame, criticize, demand, judge, that we speak our four things: our what we observe as an objective observer, with no blame and judgments on it, what we feel, what we need, and what we request. That's simple. What we observe, what we feel, what we need, and what we request. That keeps us in the compassionate communication mode versus the attacking. We don't need to attack, because when we do, the person just gets on the defensive and they can't hear what we need anyway. You know, so if we're needing something like thank you, honey, for inviting me to watch all 20 versions of of whatever with you. But I had my fill after the first 3, and I'm needing to get to other things that interest me. So that's the need. I need to do or watch or read things along my line of interest too. Would you be okay with watching those shows by yourself while I watch some of my other things? Then maybe after that we can do something together. You know, instead of a negative example would be, well, why are you so selfish? You always want to watch what you want. You get mad at me if I don't want to watch the things with you. How selfish is that? You know, that's blame and criticizing and demanding. So the compassionate communication, again, just speaks the neutral observation, like you're a reporter, you know, neutrally observing something and reporting it, and the feelings, the needs, and then the request. That keeps us in the safe area and keeps us out of that blame and criticism and demand area, and it keeps our relationships intact, because that's what we want to do. We don't want to kill them, we don't want to destroy them. That would be cutting off a part of ourselves or hurting a part of ourselves to do that. So this keeps the communication clean. And welcome Alexis, and welcome Thomas. How are you? Talking about families today, talking about Chapter 8 of John Maxwell's book, Your Roadmap for Success. And he happens to talk about families and how that is an integral part of success and what we can do about that. So I'm going to conclude here. A lot of people have their priorities. And some people it's work and then family, and then if they have any spiritual time left. But John Maxwell recommends God first, and then your family, and then your other things, your other work. And that's exactly what I did with my son. I put him first when I was a single mom and growing my business. I put him first, and I thought, I just have to do that. I just know I have to do the right thing. And whatever time is left over in the day, that will be, you know, my big rocks, of course, is my own relationship with God. That comes first, my spiritual time that I do every day. And then was my son and his needs. That would be the medium rocks. And then the smaller rocks would be everything that fit around that, you know, the business, building my business and growing that and working with people and serving people, fit around that. And I knew that if I did it in that order, that everything would just work out. And it did. So we can have it all. You know, all the rocks can fit in the jar if we put the big rocks in first, right? But if we put the small rocks in first, then the medium and then the big, they don't fit in the jar. We know that from that story. There's a YouTube about that if you like to find it. So he said the best thing to do to strengthen your family is strengthen your marriage relationship. And it's Dr. Alfred Kinsey who said there may be nothing more important in a marriage than the determination that it shall persist. So it's a choice. It's a commitment. And a lot of times love is a matter of choice, isn't it? And not necessarily passion, luck. Depends on the other person, depends on me to bring to that marriage whatever I'm wishing the other person would do, make sure I'm doing that. Instead of focusing on how they're not doing that, make sure that I am doing that, and they're more likely to reflect it then, especially the gratitude. So welcome, Gustavo. So I have shared a lot from this chapter. Who has a favorite takeaway? Who has a tip of their own about how you make family work with your business? About tips that you may have? Who has a question? Because even after this live is done, we can keep that going. So I'd love to hear your comments. I'd love to learn from you too. So tomorrow is going to be chapter 9 of this book. And chapter 9 is who else, let's see, this was Is It a Family Trip? But chapter 9 is who else should I take with me? And tomorrow, Jeffrey David Gamble, and his fiancée Brandy Pember will be presenting the rest of this book tomorrow and Friday. And I think there's 10 chapters in this book in all. And so you can find us at the Facebook group, the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show. And this is a Facebook group where we broadcast the shows there in a watch party. And when this book is done on Friday, the next book that they're going to do is Grant Cardone's book, Be Obsessed or Be Average. And then after that is going to be John Maxwell book again called Winning with People. So in case you want to get these books and follow along, if not, then just dial into the shows. They're at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday. So it's around lunchtime for some people, breakfast for some. But we call it the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show. And you can hop on here and you can just listen in, maybe while you're exercising or walking or something like that. Just listen or having lunch and gain something. This is like a book report club where you might not have time to read the whole book. If you do, that would be ideal because it's a treasure. But if you don't have time to read the whole book, come and listen. And if you would like Jeff's Cliff Notes from the book, I'll post a link below where you can get that, because some people, just have to get it in a nutshell and they can't read all the books. So we're presenting this book report for you, where you can listen to it audioly, like audio Cliff Notes, and then you can have Jeff's Cliff Notes if you want to leave your email with him. He'd be glad to send those to you, and that's a real gift. And if you like a text reminder before each show, just private message me where you'd like me to send that, and I remind people about a half hour before each of our shows, so you won't miss any. They're also posted in the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show Facebook group, so you can scroll down and catch the replays there too. Get your personal growth in, especially during the pandemic. The show again is sponsored by our generic school for network marketers, the MLM Millionaire Academy. And we have, the Academy actually, Jeff and I have produced a free class for you within that called How to Stay, especially for network marketers, how to stay positive and profitable during these tough times for network marketers. So we've produced this as a gift for the profession during this time, and I'll post a link below. It's a free class that you can have a sample of the school, and especially how it relates to people during this pandemic. So some of the things that people are saying about the school is Doris Haskins says, my business has been effortless. I'm doing more calls and getting more quality signups. The only thing I did different was to get on the live school classes and ask positive questions and take action, like you said. You guys and I created the magic I'm experiencing. So that is our goal, that's our mission, to help people build their businesses faster, easier, better, farther. And that's been happening in spades. So we invite you to check that out too. And welcome, Travis. So love to hear your thoughts, comments, questions, takeaways. And if you're watching the replay, I'm going to sign off now. Come back tomorrow to the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show Facebook group to catch Jeff and Brandy presenting Chapter 9 of Your Roadmap to Success, John Maxwell. Leadership, pinnacle of business and network marketing is leadership. So see you guys tomorrow. I'll be there too, watching and supporting, and we'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.